Hi everyone, welcome back. If you remember last week, God's talking to Moses. Moses talked to Pharaoh saying, let the Israelites leave, who were enslaved by Pharaoh. Pharaoh will say maybe, but then he would waver back and forth. God starts sending plagues. He sent 9 plagues, ranging from locusts, which are kind of like grasshoppers, locusts to turning the blood to water, to pestilence, frogs, all kinds of things. So 9 plagues have been sent thus far. During each plague, Pharaoh says, okay, just tell your God to make it stop and I'll let you all go. Then Moses talks to God. God makes the plague stop, and then Pharaoh changes his mind. In the last we hear, Pharaoh says to Moses, get out of my sight. Next time I see you, I will kill you. That's where we are. And Moses says, fine. All right. Chapter 11 of Exodus. Did I say Genesis earlier? Exodus. Chapter 11. The 10th plague, the death of the firstborn. Then the Lord told Moses, one more plague will I bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. After that he will let you depart. In fact, he will not merely let you go, he will drive you away. Instruct your people that every man is to ask his neighbor and every woman her neighbor for silver and gold articles and for clothing. The Lord indeed made the Egyptians well disposed toward the people. Moses himself was very highly regarded by Pharaoh's servants and most people in the land of Egypt. Moses then said, thus says the Lord, at midnight I will go forth through Egypt. Every firstborn in this land shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh on the throne to the firstborn of the slave girl at the handmill, as well as the firstborn of the animals. Then there shall be loud wailing throughout the land of Egypt, such as never been, nor will ever be again. But among the Israelites and their animals, not even a dog shall growl, so that you may know how the Lord distinguishes between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All these servants of yours shall then come down to me and prostrate before me, lay on the ground, bow down. They shall beg me, leave us, you and all your followers. Only then will I depart. With that he left Pharaoh's presence in hot anger. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh refuses to listen to you that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Thus, although Moses and Aaron performed these various wonders in Pharaoh's presence, the Lord made Pharaoh obstinate, and he would not let the Israelites leave his land. Chapter 12. The Passover ritual prescribed. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall stand at the head of your calendar. You shall reckon it the first month of the year. Tell the whole community of Israel, on the 10th month, this month, every one of your families must procure for itself a lamb, one apiece for each household. If a family is too small for a whole lamb, it shall join the nearest household in procuring one and shall share the lamb in proportion to the number of persons who partake of it. The lamb must be a year-old male and without blemish. You must take it from either the sheep or the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, and then, with the whole assembly of Israel present, it shall be slaughtered during the evening twilight. They shall take some of its blood and apply it to the 2 doorposts in the lintel of every house in which they partake of the lamb. The same night they shall eat its roasted flesh with unleavened bread. Unleavened, that's a common phrase you'll hear throughout the reading today. That just means there's no yeast in it, it's flat. With unleavened bread and bitter herbs. It shall not be eaten raw or boiled, but roasted whole, with its head and shanks and inner organs. None of it must be kept beyond the next morning. Whatever is left over in the morning shall be burned up. This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girt, sandals on your feet, and your staff in hand. You shall eat like those who are in flight. It is the Passover of the Lord. For on this same night I will go through Egypt, striking down every firstborn of the land, both man and beast, and executing judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I, the Lord. But the blood will mark the houses where you are. Seeing the blood, I will pass over you. Thus, when I strike the land of Egypt, no destructive blow will come upon you. This day shall be a memorial feast for you, which all of your generations shall celebrate with pilgrimage to the Lord, as a perpetual institution. For 7 days you must eat unleavened, no yeast, bread. From the very first day you shall have your houses clear of all leaven. Whoever eats leavened bread from the first day to the 7th shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a sacred assembly, and likewise on the 7th. On these days you shall not do any sort of work except to prepare the food that everyone needs. Keep then this custom of the unleavened bread, since it was on this very day that I brought your ranks out of the land of Egypt. You must celebrate this day throughout your generations as a perpetual institution. From the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of this month, you shall eat unleavened bread. For 7 days no leaven may be found in your houses. Anyone, be he a resident alien or a native, who eats leavened food shall be cut off from the community of Israel. Nothing leavened may you eat. Wherever you dwell, you may eat only unleavened bread. The promulgation of the Passover. Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and procure lambs for your families and slaughter them as Passover victims. Then take a bunch of hyssop. That's a kind of like a tree branch that has like a lot of like little branches on the end. You can kind of use like a paintbrush. Then take a bunch of hyssop and dipping it in the blood that is in the basin, sprinkle the lintel and the 2 doorposts with this blood, kind of like around your front door. But none of you shall go outdoors until the morning, for the Lord will go by, striking down the Egyptians. Seeing the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not let the destroyer come into your houses to strike you down. You shall observe this as a perpetual ordinance for yourselves and your descendants. Thus you must also observe this rite when you have entered the land which the Lord will give you as he promised. When your children ask you, What does this rite of yours mean? You shall reply, This is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. When he struck down the Egyptians, he spared our houses. Then the people bowed down in worship, and the Israelites went and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. Death of the firstborn. At midnight the Lord slew every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, as well as the firstborn of all the animals. Pharaoh arose in the night, and he and all his servants and all Egyptians, and there was loud wailing throughout Egypt, for there was not a house without its dead. Permission to depart. During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Leave my people at once, you and the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you said. Take your flocks too and your herds as you demanded, and be gone, and you will be doing me a favor. The Egyptians likewise urged the people on to hasten their departure from the land. They thought that otherwise they would all die. The people therefore took their dough before it was leavened in their kneading bowls, wrapped in their cloaks and on their shoulders. The Israelites did as Moses had commanded. They asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord indeed had made the Egyptians so well disposed towards the people that they let them have whatever they asked for. Thus did they despoil the Egyptians. The Exodus from Egypt and the journey to Sinai. Departure from Egypt. The Israelites set out from Ramses for Succoth. About 600,000 men on foot. Imagine that, 600,000 men. That's just the men, adult men. 600,000 men on foot, not counting the children. A crowd of mixed ancestry, also that's children that were born of Egyptians and Israelites, also went up with them, besides their livestock, very numerous flocks and herds. Since the dough they had brought out of Egypt was not leavened, they baked it into unleavened loaves. They had been rushed out of Egypt and had no opportunity even to prepare food for the journey. The time the Israelites had stayed in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, all the hosts of the Lord left the land of Egypt on this very date. This was a night of vigil for the Lord, as he led them out of the land of Egypt. So on this same night, all the Israelites must keep a vigil for the Lord throughout their generations. Passover regulations. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, These are the regulations for the Passover. No foreigner may partake in it. However, any slave that has been bought for money may partake of it, provided you have first circumcised him. But no transient alien, not like space aliens. Alien just means a non-native person, somebody from like another part of the world, another country. Or in this case, a non-Israelite. But no transient alien or hired servant may partake of it. It must be eaten in one in the same house. You may not take any of its flesh outside the house. You shall not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must keep this feast. If any aliens living among you wish to celebrate the Passover of the Lord, all the males among them must first be circumcised, and then they may join its observance, just like the natives. But no man who is uncircumcised may partake of it. The law shall be the same for the resident alien as for the native. All the Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. On the same day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of Egypt, company by company. Chapter 13. Consecration of the firstborn. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, Consecrate to me every firstborn that opens the womb among the Israelites, both of man and beast, for it belongs to me. Moses said to the people, Remember this day on which you came out of Egypt, that place of slavery. It was with a strong hand that the Lord brought you away. Nothing made with leaven must be eaten. This day of your departure is in the month of Abib. Therefore, it is in this month that you must celebrate this rite, after the Lord your God has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers he would give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Remember, he said to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I will give you the land of Canaan. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall also be a festival to the Lord. Only unleavened bread may be eaten during the 7 days. No leaven and nothing leavened may be found in all your territory. On this day you shall explain to your son, This is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. It shall be a sign on your hand and as a reminder on your forehead. Thus the law of the Lord will ever be on your lips, because with a strong hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. Therefore you shall keep this prescribed rite at its appointed time from year to year. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, which he swore to you and your fathers he would give you, you shall dedicate to the Lord every son that opens the womb, and all the male firstlings of your animals shall belong to the Lord. Every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a sheep, make a sacrifice with a sheep for the firstborn male. If you do not redeem it, you shall break its neck. Every firstborn son you must redeem, again with a sheep or a lamb. What does this mean? You shall tell him. With a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, that place of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt, every firstborn of man and of beast. That is why I sacrifice to the Lord everything of the male sex that opens the womb, and why I redeem every firstborn of my sons. Let this then be a sign on your hand and as a pendant on your forehead. With a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, toward the Red Sea. Now when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the Philistines' land, though this was the nearest. For he thought, should the people see that they would have to fight, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. Instead, he rerouted them toward the Red Sea by way of the desert road. In battle array, the Israelites marched out of Egypt. Moses also took Joseph's bones along. Remember Joseph, the one that had the special coat, and he was sold into Egypt. That saved Egypt from the 7 years of famine. That Joseph, when he died, he said, take my bones back to Canaan, my homeland. So verse 19. Moses also took Joseph's bones along, for Joseph had made the Israelites swear solemnly that when God should come to them, they would carry his bones away with them to bury in his homeland. Setting out from Succoth, they camped at Etham near the edge of the desert. The Lord preceded them in the daytime by means of a column of cloud to show them the way, and at night by means of a column of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both day and night. Neither the column of cloud by day nor the column of fire by night ever left its place in front of the people. Neither the column of cloud by day nor the column of fire by night ever left its place in front of the people. We will stop there for today. So at this point, the Israelites are out of Egypt. Pharaoh said, get out. They are headed towards the Red Sea. We will see how they get past the Red Sea next time. And on that, let's close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.